one. Episode 313 of H to the Show. Wow, we're traveling around the world and we're in Canada right now with Narcy. How's it going?
Nice car, brother. You? Where are you? Not really. It's not a nice car. Don't lie to me, bro. it's a Mazda.
All right, I'm
leaving a review right now on the podcast. Like, don't get a Mazda.
Listen, the shit I say in my raps is real. I said on Revolutionary Suicide, I said now I'm rolling around in a CX-5, but I still got my soul. So it is what it is.
Oh, amazing. Well, it's nice to join you. I'm in Los Angeles. And
nice. You almost forgot you were in
yeah. And I was going to say, our first female host is joining us today. So, heck yeah. Thanks for joining on the show, Aya.
Hello, everyone.
Applause.
So is it still A squared or it's A triple?
We got to figure out the lettering right now, pretty much. Yeah. A squared S right now.
A2 and friends, apparently.
A2 and friends, apparently, right now. All right. So, Narcy, you're rapper, actor, voice actor. What's your favorite thing to do?
I mean, you know, they all come with their gifts and their curses. I love acting, but I love directing more than anything. I think being behind the camera and being able to like turn ideas into full-fledged visions, and I love directing with a budget. So that's really my passion. But all
Ali
the
can
other
relate with you on that.
Directing with a budget, as opposed to directing without a budget.
No budget shit.
Yeah, right.
but all the other, audio-based work, it has its moments for sure. I love creating music and being like in the studio in the moment. That's something really magical when it hits, and it's irreplaceable with anything else because it's not something you can touch or see. It's something you feel, So I would say it's tied between directing video and recording music.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, now you have to choose one, Narcy. If you could only
I'm a Gemini, so I'm always going to choose two.
All right. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, filmmaking is awesome because, you create something and you get to watch it with people and it's an awesome experience. But then also music's awesome because you also get to listen and more people can listen to it, and as they're driving, listen to it. What affects you more, music or films?
Man, ever since everything has gone like digital, I haven't been watching as many movies. Obviously, films are very immersive, and I used to love the cinema experience, but I haven't been to the movie theater in like 2 years. So music has taken a front seat to a lot of things, because when I go for my walks, which are all I had for like a year, it was the music that carried me through the pandemic. So I'd have to say music, bro.
Wow. Well, final answer. It's wild because movies, like you said, you haven't been to a movie theater in 2 years. Well, COVID's only been around for 1 year. So where were you? Where were you before?
He was preparing for 1 year at a time.
The last time I went to the movies, I don't even remember what fucking movie I watched last time I went to the movies. Like, it was that long ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I hadn't been for a little bit before the pandemic hit. And I don't remember going before it hit because I was in Dubai in December. And then January, February, March, I was in Canada. Unless there was some like Peter Rabbit shit or something I went to with my kids. I don't recall being in a movie theater.
Part 2 came out as well.
Part 2 just came out.
Yeah, I haven't seen part 2 yet.
So, as a filmmaker, do you think that like it's not translating too well to the digital world, films? Why?
No,
why?
I just feel like at home, I've been at home for like a year, so it's hard for me to get immersed in a film. I mean, I've watched some pretty interesting films throughout the pandemic for sure. First of all, I don't see myself as a filmmaker. I make videos. I haven't gotten to the film part, but I've been watching TV shows a lot more, and like because they're like shorter, my attention span is kind of shot. and it's like there's like an arc, and I can take breaks and think about what I just watched. And the last movie I watched at home was The Man Who Sold His Skin.
Wow.
I don't know if you guys have seen that.
No.
No.
Yeah.
It's an amazing Tunisian film, or a film by a Tunisian director
Wow.
about a Syrian refugee who becomes an art project. Super interesting film.
Oh,
And then
sounds cool.
before that, I watched Elie Sleiman's. I think it's called What About Heaven. So like I take long breaks now between films because I watch a lot of superhero shit. So I've been watching like WandaVision, and then now I'm watching Low Key.
Let's go. Yeah.
So yeah, I watched that.
Yeah.
I've been more into
Nice.
TV than film. Yeah.
All right.
Do you ever see yourself going into that field, like
Yeah,
filmmaking?
100%.
Or like
yeah.
or short
100%.
films?
No,
What
100%.
would-
I mean, that's where I'm hoping to go. I mean, it's not an easy game to break into and to get funded for, but I'm hopefully working on something that will, you know.
yeah.
It's definitely one of my dreams. I've always had the dream to like do one thing, one form of every medium very well, and like I'm at the point now where I want to do some TV or film stuff, you know.
All right. I just so speaking about a dream, because you want, like, you've performed live in music and performed to a lot of people. What was that a dream that came true for you, and you felt like, all right, I can move on to the next dream now? How'd that feel for you?
Yeah, you know, with rap, when I was really young, I got into hip hop, and I was like, I want to get a deal, I want to be big, I want to like fill up stadiums. But then as I traveled through the music industry, I realized more and more how like there are no voices that are as publicly outspoken as I am about our community and what we go through, that have broken through in the direction that I took. You know, I went headfirst, and I'm Iraqi, so like when I got in the rap game when I was 18, 19, 20, the war was happening after 9/11, and it was like, you know, I had a choice, but I couldn't fake the funk. It was how I was feeling. So the music was very political, and we broke through to a lot of people. And throughout my career, I've kind of shifted to a more artistic presentation of our culture. And all the deals that came to me just didn't make sense. It was, I wasn't willing to, for lack of a better word, sell my soul, you know, like, it's not like a thing where the devil's in the room, but like you have to make a decision whether you're going to take another man's money and be in debt to somebody, or you want to just continue on the independent route. And I went independent, and I did it. I've done everything I dreamt of doing. There's so much more I can do, but I'm very satisfied with what I've achieved with music as an independent artist. You know, I've connected with the people that I grew up listening to. I've worked with them. I've made videos with them. I've made songs with them. I've hung out with them, become friends with them. So like, what, you know, it would be great to perform in front of a stadium, and I can do it, but I don't want to be famous either like that. Like, I'm not looking to be somebody that is like, you know, like an idolatry form of human. Like, I'm not down with any of that. So I'm good. I think music I'll keep doing, and I'll keep pursuing and doing it to do it. And, you know, I think I'm good at it, but I want to do bigger things. Like, I think we have a job as Arab creatives to tell our story the way we want it told. And if we sit around and just keep pointing fingers and say like, they're not doing it right, why are they talking about us like that, then we're not going to win. We have to do it. So that's really my mission in the next 10 years, you know?
Literally.
That's
And it's
a great
also
mission.
part of our mission also, that we have to do it ourselves and create our own content and create our own culture, because otherwise we're just going to take other people's culture. And for a place with a lot of, you know, wealth and success, we should be able to invest in independent creators and artists and help them, because they create the world and the culture and life.
Yeah, and you also have to be aware that the money in our region is not, it's not free of like, what's the word, like the intention with the money being funded in films is not necessarily a cultural intention at the moment in the Arab world. So like, some of it is, but some of it is just to position itself within the Hollywood market. So until we're at a point where our people are like, you know what, we need the Palestine film. We need to tell the Iraq story from the perspective of the Iraqi. We need to, from the perspective of an Iraqi kid or like a normal Iraqi person. Until the money is being funneled into the right places, we're not going to be telling our story. Like if we keep funding American films about the war and letting them shoot on our lands, then we're not going to get anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think about the misrepresentation in Hollywood of Arabs, for example? So like we're always misrepresented, our cultures misrepresented, our cities, and like they give the wrong image. For example, I'm Lebanese, we're Lebanese here, and they've shown Beirut many times as like a desert or like a slum in series or movies and stuff.
Did you guys watch the John Hamm one? I haven't watched that one.
Beirut, right? With John Hamm. I've not seen that. No.
I don't even want to watch it.
I don't even want to watch it.
I mean, but there's a lot of these things. It's not surprising, bro, when you sit in a room with white executives or white producers who like when they think Arab world or Middle East or whatever they want to call it, or Swana or ABCDEFG, whatever you want to call it, they hear the flutes. You feel me?
Yeah.
They hear like the flutes and the snake, and it's like all one thing for them.
Aladdin, right?
It's not, and this is not new. This is what aided countries in invading our countries and occupying our countries. It allowed them that space because culturally they created the narrative that allowed them to break through. So, in the words of Edward Said, like it's a true Orientalist mission, and Hollywood is a direct reflection of power. So whatever is being sold to you is either a projection into the future or something they want you to believe now. During the Iraq War, there were movies that were being made about the Iraq War. During the war in Afghanistan, so that the narrative is controlled by the people that are invading, not the people that are being invaded. And obviously, they got the money, they got the power, they got the bombs. So I think, again, like we can target that, and like people like Riz or people like Rami and May and Amir Suleiman and everybody that's working in that world, rewriting those stories is very important. But again, we can point the finger, but while we're pointing the finger, we got to use the other finger and write. Like we can't just sit around and think if they're going to change. They're not going to change. They haven't changed. You know what I'm saying? They're still out there destroying the world,
Yeah. Now, you also mentioned how Edward Said coined the term the Orient, gave us the term the Orient. And I feel like the West also still misuses that word. Like they just throw it upon anyone who speaks Arabic. And it's just like classifies us like as not on the same level. They look down upon the Orient. So I feel like it was turned against us in a sense when they speak about the Orient.
I mean, Orientalism has always been a form of control, bro. It's always been when Edward Said coined the term, he coined it in terms of how people like Delacroix painted paintings of ancient slave markets that were in the Arab world, but left everything out the frame. So when they came back to the West with these paintings, it gave a one-sided view of that world, and that is the seed that grew into the root, that grew into the tree of our representation now here. So it's never had a positive intention because they were always colonial in their approach of physically entering a space, but also colonial in their mind state. Like, think about it this way. The West was built upon taking land. It was built upon taking up space. Capitalism is built upon taking up as much space as you can, including
exploitation of labor.
Yeah, including in the digital space. The more digital space you take up, the more followers you have, the more views you get, the more it's all about like expanding, right? So their intention was never like, let's share everything. It was always, let's take everything so it's ours, so we're bigger than everyone.
I mean, they still do that, of course, the concept of colonialism. I mean, look at the US. They're everywhere. Like in every country, they almost every country in the world, they have a military. They have at least one military base. So
yeah, man. I mean, look at Palestine, bro. Like colonization never stopped. It just rebranded.
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. a rebranding for the like new colonialism. So just a new way of taking over and forcing their ideologies upon the world. Especially, for example, when they go into Afghanistan and it's like we're trying to spread democracy and stuff, but like I don't think people want you to spread democracy that way.
But also, bro, they've been lying to themselves forever. Like I live in Canada. You know, Ali is in the States, but in Canada they tell you we live on this land, it's sovereign. We're a cultural melting pot. And yeah, sure, we can live in peace and it's great, and we have all this opportunity, but it's stolen. It's a stolen land. The only difference is it wasn't done on film, so you can't really, you know. But look at how God works. Look at how Allah works. Like more recently, they dug up 215 bodies of indigenous children from under a church here that was a residential school here in Canada. So these histories, you can hide them, but you can't delete them. They're gonna come out the earth one day. So now all these things are being unearthed, and apology is not enough. There is no justice for the injustice that was done to all indigenous people of the world. So I think we have to stop thinking that they're gonna change. They're not gonna change. They're already in the position they're in because they haven't changed. They control everything. So we just gotta work and keep our heads down and do the work. Like do the work. No, you know what I'm saying?
Wait, question. Yes. Yeah, I have a question on that point. So you mentioned how how they uncovered those indigenous bodies, and obviously, Western countries have done wrong to indigenous communities around the world. But right now, like for example, let's say a descendant of those colonialists, how are they supposed to right the wrongs of their ancestors? Like in your opinion, what would you say?
Fall back, stand with the people. You know, like you have an opportunity to right the wrong by apologies are not enough. Stand back and stand with the people. Protest with us. When we're out in the streets saying Islamophobia is real, a family just got run over by a car on purpose because they were Muslim. Don't protect the driver, protect the family, stand with the people, say enough is enough. Like that's what we need. We need a mass of people, that don't benefit anymore from the structure because it's destroying the world. So like, it's hard to tell people to let go of their privilege or to be aware of their privilege when they aren't in the lineage of exploitation. Like my people were in the lineage of exploitation. So I'm able to be self-aware enough to say, oh shit, I can't do that because that's exploitative of Black culture or exploitative of indigenous culture. I have a self-awareness that comes with the exploitation. When you're not an exploited people, look, they talk about generational trauma, right? Like people have generational trauma in our like we carry our grandfathers and grandmothers and grandfathers.
Definitely in the Middle East.
We carry their like the trauma that they felt, the shock that they felt went into their DNA, and we carry it. So somebody that hasn't experienced that kind of trauma won't understand because they're on the other side of the coin. So like brainwash is one thing, but it's like spiritual wash. People need to wake the fuck up and realize the world was done so wrong. Indigenous people all over the world were done so wrong. And right now, we are watching on Instagram the live destruction of an indigenous people in Palestine, yet it's able to trend and like, and that's the fault of the platforms, the fault of the way that we function cyclically, mentally right now, but also the fault of our people because they censor and shadow ban our own people in our region to speak about these things. So like, there's a lot of work to do, bro. So at the end of the day, if we don't keep our heads down and stand together, then they're gonna win. They're gonna be able to split us apart again.
Yeah, this podcast is so woke. This podcast is blowing my mind as we speak. I do think.
Listen, I'm an older statesman. I'm kind of fed up, bro.
Yep. Love to hear it. I do think, like a lot of when you were saying, Said, how can people who have been wronged, like right themselves or convince people that their story, is different from everyone else? I think film and music and culture is one of the amazing ways you can watch a movie and then get someone else's point of view, get someone else's perspective, and you can just click
man,
like that.
I dare a billionaire Arab to fund a 1948 Palestine movie. I dare them. They're, you know what I mean? But people are too afraid. They're too attached to their bank accounts. They're too afraid to take a risk. But you know what that would do for our children? To be able to tell the story for them visually so that it becomes a part of the lexicon of our visual culture. For a long time, we've been left out of our visual culture, or we've been told who we are in our visual culture, And I think now is the time more than ever to take those risks. And if governments aren't going to take those risks, and cultural entities attached to governments are not going to take those risks, then us as creatives have to take those risks.
Would you do a movie like about the Nakba?
I'd watch it.
Would I direct it? I wouldn't direct it. I would want a Palestinian to direct it.
Right.
But I would definitely want to help however I can. You know what I mean? I think it's very important, again, to be, culturally aware of who and what and how it's being said. I would definitely get involved in a film about Iraq, 100%, from the perspective of somebody in the West, an Iraqi in the West, or an Iraqi in Iraq. You know what I'm saying? That would be where I would sit, in the right place. But a Palestinian should tell that story. And there's many, many Palestinian directors, male or female, that would murder it,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what kind of message for the perspective of Iraq, what kind of message would you want to share to the Western culture?
I mean, just that one of the greatest injustices of our generation is the pillaging of Iraq. There's a deeper reason than oil and all that cute shit that people always, which is real. It's like economic, but there's a deeper spiritual and historical reason why Iraq was flattened by America, because that history is one of the richest histories in the world, and they want people to forget it, including people in the region would want people to forget Iraq's history. So
why would you say that?
Because we're the old Arabs.
Yeah.
Our story was not told for us. So the world benefits from the destruction of Iraq. The world benefits from the destruction of Palestine. The world benefits from the destruction of Lebanon. But, and by the world, I mean people who are in power, who enjoy power. I think had someone been, I'm not going to say anybody in power can be selfless, but had someone known the positive side of power in the grand scheme of life, knowing that nothing is permanent, if you use that power to strengthen a people, then we would be in a much better place right now. So to answer your question, a film about Iraq, I would just a human story about an Iraqi family that suffered due to the war and survived and made it through, and show the invasion of Iraq from the perspective of a family that got invaded, not the invader coming in to invade the land,
Yeah, we definitely watched too many movies from the invasion side, and a lot of them have won awards and gone crazy.
Of course,
the first one that comes to my mind is Black Hawk Down, but I think that was I'm not sure if it was in Iraq or Afghanistan.
I think that was Afghanistan or Sudan, but again, of course they win awards because the colonizer always applauds himself. Look at me, look at my achievements. Look at how beautiful this destruction is. There's a scene in Iron Man 1 where he's standing and there's a mountain behind him and he drops one of his bombs and he's like, everybody clap for me. That's America. Look at my prowess, look at my strength. That's the whole world, really. But America in general, that's the way they do it. They wash their hands. One hand washes the other. Let's make a movie about it and put that in the file. Let's move on. Who are we invading next? That's always been the history,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. Take
Sure,
a deep
that's
breath.
yeah.
Sage your environment.
No, I agree with you on. I agree with
I
you on the
agree.
point of like eliminating a community's history lets
Mhm.
people lets people in general around the world forget about these people. Like like what we see with Palestine right now. You know, like they're trying to completely remove the history. They're basically
Yeah,
their
they
story
make it about
in
the moment.
1948.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they make it
So it's
about the
like
moment, so you forget about what happened in the past.
exactly, exactly. They're like forget about what we did. Look at what we're doing now. And even now, they keep like trying to make it seem like it's all good and nice, and well, we're trying to be nice to them. Like recently, they gave them those the COVID vaccines, but that were expired, and they're like in the U.S. they're presenting it as the image as Palestine is rejecting these vaccines. The Palestinian authorities rejecting the vaccines,
Of course,
but they rejected them because they're expired. They
of
forgot to mention
course.
that they were expired. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Listen, man,
it's pathetic.
it's free Palestine till the end. Free
Yes.
Palestine until Palestine is free. People need to know that, recognize that, and stop sleeping on that, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Honestly,
Yeah.
so wake the fuck up to everyone,
fuck
right? Literally.
Yeah.
Do you have hope for the future? Do you think things are gonna change for the better with, or do you think it's just gonna go more south?
I mean, listen, I don't like projecting. I don't, you know, I have to have hope because I have kids, you know.
Mhm.
I can't get lost in despair.
Yeah.
I can have moments of despair, but I gotta raise these kids, bro. So I do have hope when I see them, and as corny as it sounds, like and the world takes away your innocence. You know, I was an innocent child once, and we were all innocent kids at one point, and then we played Mortal Kombat, and that shit went right out the window. So like, I have hope. I do believe that we will have some semblance of legislative justice for what's happening in Palestine at some point. Maybe not in my lifetime, maybe in my children's lifetime, but I do have hope, you know, and it's what keeps me going, you know. I have faith. I don't have hope. I have faith. Yeah.
All right, and I mean,
Something actually, yeah, something that I want to go into is maybe it's a bit off topic what we were talking to is, but I know that you were a voice actor on the Sid Meier's Civilization 5 video game. Like, how did you go into video games? I know this is a bit way off topic.
I was gonna ask that to make a turn.
No,
It's really hard.
But I gotta know.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I live in Montreal. Montreal is a very artistic city. You know, we've birthed some of like the greatest DJs, some of the greatest producers, amazing actors, and the video game industry is very big here. You know, Ubisoft is based out of here. Warner Brothers is based out of here. There's a bunch of Electronic Arts has an office here, so a lot of video games are made here. And I had an agent at the time, and she got me an audition. I was like, "What the fuck is Civilized?" I didn't even know what it was. To be honest with you.
My childhood game, right?
And they asked me to play this character, and I ended up being Darius. And then after that, because I did a good job at it, I got Assassin's Creed Origins. I mean, I'm all over that game. So if you play Assassin's Creed Origins, I'm like the Black Pharaoh slaves. I'm like a bunch of people in the markets. I help you like find certain people and carry corpses and shit like that. So I'm in like 4 or 5 different characters in that game as well.
Yeah, I played that game and I played Civilization. But wait, so they put you as Darius, the Iranian king?
Yeah, because there was Darius and there was Harun al-Rashid, and me and my boy both went and auditioned, and he got Harun al-Rashid and I got Darius. So it was I mean, listen, I like learning from my acting gigs. So like, I had to learn this form of Aramaic, you know, language that was like, I don't know if it was made up or if it's real, but it was very interesting to like use the Arabic intonation, but not be speaking Arabic directly. So it was a very fun experience. I love voice acting. I mean, one of my dreams is to voice like a cartoon character one day. So, inshallah, you know.
Inshallah, that sounds awesome. All right, sounds good. And about Assassin's Creed, can you tell us more about how that experience went for you?
Same. I went for an audition and I signed an NDA at the time, and I came in and I just read a bunch of shit. Like they just kept. I did like 5 or 6 sessions, and then I just, you know, you leave it. They don't tell you what the game is. They don't tell you what the context is. But I figured out as I was going that this was Assassin's Creed just from some of because it was in English. So from some of the context, and then I researched what Assassin's Creed was coming out, and I was like, oh, okay, this is the game that I'm in. And then eventually it came out, and I don't have the patience to play those long ass games, but like
it's a very, very long game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like my cousin or my friend was like, yo, I played the game, I bugged out, it was like 2 a.m, and I heard your voice, I thought I was tripping. So I asked him, and you know, with YouTube, like full gameplay is online, so I asked him like what part of the game was I in, and he found it for me on YouTube and sent it to me. So I had all that shit up on IG, but I archived my IG, so I have it there. I can send it to you guys if you want to insert here.
Oh, please insert here. Yeah, right. Amazing. All right.
Yeah, that'll be sick. Yeah.
Wow. That sounds good. So are you still making music at all right now? Or are you focusing on films?
Yeah, I mean, I just put out an EP a couple of months ago with Thanks Joey. I put out a Meme Against the World, which is like a short EP about the internet and like being on the internet for a year straight. And just the fucked up thoughts that you have being trapped in the web and the matrix. And then while doing that, I've been working on my Rockefeller album, which is done now, which is kind of like, I won't say it's my last album, but it's like my first last album, like in the sense that I really told my story. And it's not like my most personal record, but it's like my most rounded project that I've done, you know. It deals with a lot of my experience of 20 years in the music game, being a Rockefeller, what that means. I have a song with my 2 kids on it. I have some like super rap shit and I'm very into R&B music, so some like more R&B, like, you know, broken hearted lover type shit. So it's like,
nice.
If you take all my projects, this Rockefeller album is like the culmination of all my work. So that's going to be coming out slowly with videos over the course of the next little while. And then while I'm working on these larger projects, you know?
Wow. Can't wait. That sounds awesome and exciting. I want to know about you wrote about the internet, and you've been in the music industry for, you said, more than 20 years now. So you came with the wave of the internet, right? The past 20 years. How have you seen the internet change throughout the years, and with you as a music artist, and how have you had to adapt to all of it? And what do you think about it now?
I mean, when I started, bro, we were slanging CDs, and like we were grinding to make websites. Like it was a fucking difficult thing to make a website when I started making music. And it's changed a lot. I mean, the idea was streaming. The way my music really popped off was on Napster. Like one of my songs leaked on Napster, and it went around, and like people stole it and made it theirs, and then it was in a documentary, and like I was like, what? So like the internet took my work, and then I reined it all back and started like controlling my career online. So it's very different, you know. I don't enjoy the numbers game. It's not like I don't enjoy putting my music out on the internet only. You know, I really like physical product, which is why I do like limited edition vinyls or tapes or CDs. I still do, or comic books or books. Mm-hmm. Like I do things that are attached to the music that I enjoy. And the best part of music is performing, and that's not online. Like I refuse to do online shows during the pandemic. I hated that shit. You know?
Yeah.
So it's definitely changed. It's definitely changed my career, but it's also given me a form of income that I would have never imagined before. It's like its own machine. It just gives you money every month. So it's great, man. It's great.
By the way, something that you mentioned earlier was that people, like, there are some artists that originally go into the music business to make for fame and money, but then eventually they find out that it's not all about that. It's not all about that. Like, there becomes a mission behind, like, they develop a cause or some mission for themselves. What did it take for you to do that? Or, like, in general, what does it take for someone to notice that it's not only about the fame and the money? Like, there's something more to it.
I mean, for me, it was always a creative outlet first, and a spiritual experience, and then a cultural mission second, and then a financial gain third. You know, I've been blessed again to have the path that I had to develop the respect that I may have built amongst people from my community, and have not. There's two ways of going about it. You go about it with a capitalist intent at first, and then you go back if you want to go back and do the cultural work, or you do the cultural work and the money catches up. And I've always unconsciously done the cultural work first. You know, it wasn't like I was like, I want to be broke, I want to do this for the culture. It was the way that my heart pushed me into it, and I've always followed my heart, you know. So
that's amazing.
I think every person has their own journey, bro. There's no one way to dictate, and there's no judgment. Like, there's no judgment upon what people do it for. Let people do it for whatever they want to do it for. But when artists say, no, it's not up to me, it's up to the parents to raise their children, that's bullshit. Artists have a huge responsibility in their work. And if you're out there spreading negativity, then that energy is going to come back into your life, you know? So, yeah.
Wow. Deep.
So you think that artists should take more responsibility about their work, like how it influences people?
Oh yeah, I mean, in my opinion, yes. You know, there's no need to censor yourself, or, you know, you do what you got to do, you do what you want to do, but don't deny that there's a responsibility in your work. There is. That's undeniable, you know. And if you deny it, then you're lying to yourself first, and then you're lying to your audience second. Like Eminem, I remember growing up listening to Eminem, it never made me want to, like, kill my mother or, like, do mescaline and you know, trip balls and shit like that. Never made me want to do that, because I had a strong family structure that raised me prior to listening to Eminem, right? But if people lack that family structure, or lack that empathy around them, or that love around them, and you introduce them to these things, you know, it might be hindrance to them. So yeah, there's a thin line. Just got to take responsibility for your own actions, bro. You know, and creating music is an action. So if you don't take responsibility for actions, that's on you. But then again, there's an entire corporate structure and capitalist structure that benefits off the destruction of humanity, which is a direct extension of the things we were talking about. I'm not trying to get too deep, but it's the truth. Record labels are just an extension of the power structure that exists. So record labels are not good. They're not good places. The record industry is not a good place for the spirit. So obviously it's going to say murder, 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 kill, kill, kill. That's going to make dollar, dollar, dollar. Let's do it. You know, it's benefits the structure.
But what is it about the record labels that's just so evil, that benefits the people in power? What is it doing exactly?
It's exploitative.
And in what way? Also.
Tell me one record label that gives its artists therapy. You know, therapy to deal with the traumas they had before they got famous, or what they developed after they got famous. Tell me one record label that's intention is to give the artists their masters, for them to own their own thoughts and their own ideas and their creative output.
I mean, if we really think about it, it's not only record labels, it's most corporations.
Yeah, of course, which is what I'm saying to you. It's a direct representation of the structure. But if we're talking about music directly, again, those are two examples. Give me another example. How many record labels have invested back into the hoods where they get their artists from? How many record labels have invested in strengthening those communities, whether they be Black, Brown, Asian communities, that they milk to make money, where they keep 80% of the profits of that artist's revenue? How many record labels have rethought the structure of a record deal? You know, they haven't. So there are outliers in record industry. I'm not saying everyone that's in the industry is evil, but that structure is not meant to benefit people. It's meant to benefit the structure, you know?
So do you think like the artist should be independent?
Oh man, that's you know, independent life is not easy either. So it's a case.
What are you gonna do?
I would never. My suggestion would be independent. Own your own shit. I own all my own publishing. I clear the samples that I use, and split it with artists fairly. Like I don't screw anybody over. I pay musicians. I pay vocalists. And I do all of this for my own music. It's a lot of work, but learning it has taught me the value of my own work and the value of other people's work. So I would say yes, if it's something you can do and you can afford to do and you're willing to struggle for years, then yes. But if it's an immediate need for money to survive and to keep a roof over your head, then that's a whole different, you know, I can't impose that upon anybody, you know?
But that's the thing with most artists. With most artists is like they want to basically get over the poverty line, like and make some money so that they can feed their families, get them a house. So they have to sign these record labels because like it's the only opportunity they receive at the time.
Yeah. So I mean that's why I say it's a case by case basis. I can't really judge.
Yeah, but then they reach a point where they're like, okay, like they're having, you know, problems with their contracts, and they're like, you know, wow, these record labels are terrible and they hate them. But like, this is the situation you got. I mean, the other opportunity is to become independent.
Yeah, I mean, listen, regardless with music, it's long game. Like it's a long game.
Right.
So
yeah,
people get in a hurry too often.
Yeah, and sometimes you think immediate, like I need $1 million right now. You know, but that $1 million has a lot of strings. So in the long run, I never wanted to be in debt to any, you know, white corporate structure. I never wanted to be in debt to it because I don't, you know, I already have debts at the bank or whatever it might be. I don't need to go to a man and be like, hey man, give me $1 million for my music so I can shine and buy whatever I want. And you know what I mean? Like I would rather, I had the privilege to slowly build my life up. It was, you know, like I said, I'm blessed. Like, and I still struggle. There are moments where money doesn't come in from music and I have to do other things or, you know, diversify what I'm doing. Yeah, it's a case by case basis, bro. You know?
Wow.
No judgment. No judgment here.
No judgment. But I do feel it's kind of cruel how much money has kind of ruined art for a lot of people. I live in Los Angeles. I see a lot of actors, YouTubers, and Twitch streamers that are very desperate for the, you know, verified tick or just for followers or just because they just need to survive, obviously. I wish there was a world where you can just survive and make music, you know.
I think there will be, bro. I think, you know, it's like Uber generation. Like they get to work for themselves. Sure, it's under a corporate structure, and that corporate structure takes less money than what the corporate structure that was a record label took, right? Like I can record an album. I recorded Meme Against the World in quarantine when I came back from the States. I had to be in an apartment for 2 weeks. I had my mic and my sound card plugged to a widescreen TV, and I recorded on my own in an apartment.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the music, the quality is the same. So the structure has changed now, right? So I think over time in our kids' generation, they'll be able to do it.
Wow. Yeah, I truly believe it. And I think it is awesome that with the internet and stuff, one of the awesome things that just like us, we're able to connect with you and you're able to connect with us and we can hear your music and, you know, play your games and everything like that. So it is kind of awesome. I think the internet has led to a lot of
Think
making the world
about it
more
this way.
fair. Yeah,
How much did Assassin's Creed Origin make?
a lot of money.
How
A lot
much
of-
did I make? You know?
Yes.
How much did the guys that designed the characters make? Like,
Yep.
at
Yep.
the end of the day, you know, it's a pyramid. So like, I'm not saying I should get money off every play, but there's no structure right now for royalties for anybody that works in that space. So like, it's got to change at some point. But creatives are gonna be like, "Fuck you! I'll make my own game. Like, I don't need you." You know, like my son is 8 and he could play Game Builder Garage and build a game from scratch on his Nintendo Switch, and then that's something I couldn't imagine doing when I was 8. You know, I was playing 8-bit Mario when I was 8. So like,
Right.
Wow. Yeah, like it's basically becoming easier to create products, and whenever the market, so okay, obviously when like a few years back, let's go 10 years, 15 years back, when games were starting to develop and become, you know, really big with PlayStation 2, PlayStation 1, it was a small market, so people couldn't just make games out of nowhere. But now the market is really big. Like a lot of newer there's a lot of, for example, indie games and indie companies that come out, just make a game, and they make really successful games, either on the mobile, on the PC, on whatever. And this is creating more opportunities for anyone to like create a game with their friends or with any kind of small group that they're working with, and then they basically say fuck you to the major corporations, and major corporations are gonna start noticing a shift away from their video games, maybe because they basically they really burn out their employees, the developer,
of course,
the software engineers, the people who are making the games themselves they work endless hours, man.
And more people are going independent.
Out.
Yeah, and more people are going independent. When the means of production moves into I think that technology is a gift and a curse. Like it's allowed us to elevate and speed up, but then it's also destroying our mental health and killing us and killing the planet. So like everything is cyclical, and the means of production are moving back into the people's hands, but eventually that's gonna reverse on itself too. So yeah, man, I mean,
I think it's a cycle.
I'm sitting in a Mazda right now. A machine made this thing. I bought it at a store. Like, it's too late. We're in the game. So like, just do what you can, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just a cycle where major companies create something and then eventually the people take it back.
Yeah.
Like, and then they make it themselves, and like basically the major companies are like, okay, we have to work with these smaller groups, and like, because like they might take the market from themselves. And I feel like that happens with most products. It's not only just video games. It's like anything. You can see it in.
Can we talk about R&B or something?
I'm sorry.
You go in conspiracy mode. Yeah, clean about.
Okay. Same concept. The same concept applies for music as well. like you were saying, record labels used to dominate the industry. Now they don't. People can go independent. They can work on their own. They can create their own shit, because the people are taking back their products basically. And then these people who, once they become successful, they create their own record labels. I mean, you have a lot of major artists who they created the record labels themselves. So, and also when you were mentioning about the record labels are not supporting the communities, but these record labels are being run by artists themselves. So why aren't they doing it?
Because we live in a capitalist structure, bro. It's dog eat dog. It's everybody look out for themselves. It's not ingrained in our, it's not. There are artists like Lil Baby is doing it. He's huge and he's on a record label, but the things that he's saying, or a Nipsey Hussle, Allah yarhama, or a Vic Mensa, like these guys are all community forward guys. So like. And these are just or No Name, who is amazing, or you know what I'm saying? Like So there's examples, but again, the structure is so big, it's hard to shift everybody's mentality out of the structure, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what were your music inspirations growing up? And
I mean, so much, bro. Like everything from Kulthum to Stevie Wonder to Michael Jackson to you know. If I was to say, like, my biggest one would have to be Michael Jackson when I was a kid. But then as I got into hip hop, it was like Big Pun and Biggie and Pac and Lauryn Hill and Nas and Wu-Tang. You know, so much music.
And so when you started making your own music, how important was it for you to be original versus being part of this grander wave of music and hip hop? Do you want to be?
I mean, it was important for me to just like represent our culture with justice. That was my mission. Like sonically and lyrically, I had to sift through all my lyrics to find my voice. And I think I only did that maybe on World War III. That was the first time where I was like clear as to who I was as an MC. But the more I go into music, the clearer the mission gets, because you're in your head as a creative. So like I'm more intentful with the words or with the sounds or with the space that I leave between the things that I say now, as opposed to before I was going a mile a minute, you know?
Right. Right. Oh, all right.
So yeah.
All right. Well, we're kind of wrapping up on time here. Thank you so much, Narcy, for coming on the A2 show. Saeed, Aya, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, actually, yes. Aya has a question, but the Adhan is very strong on this, so it's she told me to ask it. She was asking about the point about where people lose their origins. So doesn't it apply here in the Arab culture as well? Like when they reach a point where they're way into the game and they just forget about where their origins where they're from and their origins.
I mean, listen, we're a global people. Arabs are no longer concentrated just in the Arab world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and our stories are so diverse now because of the way that we've moved around the world. So I think it's only fair for that representation to change. I can't speak for a young Iraqi that came to America when he was 13 after experiencing 10 years of war. But I can speak to them and with them. But they have to speak for themselves. And like, so I think what we have to learn to do as a people is to not repeat the mistakes that our parents' generations made, which was to live in fear and shame.
Yep.
And guilt. Like we have to be very honest about who we are and the diversity in our identity is who we are now. So the world has done what it's done to our people. What can we do culturally to bring a form of creative justice to that? Because we'll never have human justice to that. So I think that's it. I think we just gotta be open, man. No more like hada maysir, hada aib, hada haram.
Right.
None of that. Like this is who we are, khalas, you know?
This is who we are.
I'll wear whatever the fuck I want when I want to wear it. You know what I mean?
Right. Stop the fear, stop the shame, start, love and acceptance. And thank you so much for coming on the show. The most international, most diverse educational entertainment podcast. Check it out right here on A2 The Show. We can find his music links in our bio. Is there anything else you want to shout out before we wrap up?
Shout out King Darius. Shout out Mesopotamia. Shout out Sumeria. Shout out all my people out in Iraq. A free Palestine until Palestine is free. One love to all my people around the world. Peace.
Yes, exactly. This is how we sign out, and peace. Thanks. Goodbye.